I was having some correspondence with a viewer of this channel who broadly agrees with many of my views. He said he also believes that traditional values are best for society, thereby traditional gender roles are best for the family, and that equals best for the culture. However, he made a very good point, which is, well, how do you find that in this day and age? The modern West is an absolute woke dystopia when it comes to dating. And I do sympathise with him because a lot of women in the dating market these days are like this.
Chronic overthinker and a hoop. Hey, chronic overthinker and a hoop. Dogs and attachment issues. Dogs and attachment issues. Push over and a nice big cat. Push over and a nice big cat. Body dysmorphia and a perm. Body dysmorphia and a perm. People pleaser and a scarf. People pleaser and a scarf.
I'm sure this video is tongue-in-cheek, but it does symbolise a problem with some modern women. That is, the two things they're earmarking here are rooted in one, materialism, and two, pop psychological pathologies in place of an actual identity. The women in the clip, like lots of young women today, are also quite loud. That's both literally and also symbolically. They like to be very sexy, I've noticed, but if anybody mentions that sexiness, it's seen as some form of oppression, which makes you wonder, well, why dress sexy then? It's also the dynamic behind this weird poster from somewhere in the Western dystopia threatening men. It states, Jake was drunk, Josie was drunk, Jake and Josie hooked up, Josie could not consent. The next day, Jake was charged with rape. Where to even begin with this? I mean, who draws the line with regards to inebriation? And second of all, if Jake was also drunk, he couldn't consent either, so why isn't Josie being arrested too? It's this sort of thing that leads to the MGTOW, that's men go their own way movements, where they've just given up on dating entirely. I can understand some of their concerns, but of course that's a nihilistic, hopeless future for us if that's what we're going to do. It's what's led to this present situation. If we look at where the next 1,000 babies are going to be born in the world, we can see only 5 are going to be born in the UK, 172 in India, 57 in Nigeria, 103 in China. It's even more bleak when you realise half of that figure 5 from the UK will be from our new arrivals anyway, as they tend to breed more. So in the interest of forming traditional relationships, which leads to birth rates down the line, what can men do? Well, the obvious advice that's often given, which I actually disagree with, is look in your local church. My reasons to this are threefold. Firstly, not that many young women go to church anyway, and the ones that do, not to be cruel, tend to be a bit on the sheltered side. And finally, many of the churches these days are liberal anyway with LGBTQ and so on. In the past, what I found to be more fertile ground are what I call church-adjacent type activities and things. A good example of this would be someone like Jordan Peterson. Obviously, Peterson is extremely popular with young men and draws tens of thousands of people whenever he comes to any city. However, amongst those people, there are a surprising amount of women. In fact, in about 2016 or something, a short while before I met my wife, I did go to this event in London that was somewhat affiliated with Jordan Peterson's ideas, things like philosophy, politics, Carl Jung, that sort of thing. And I did end up going on a date with a girl from there actually, which goes to show there is potential in these things. Another one out of left field that may surprise you if you're open to these sort of things is even spiritual communities and workshops and that sort of thing. That's because a lot of the women that go to these sort of things are actually open to the masculine-feminine dynamic more than you might imagine. It's because they're interested in the yin and yang and things like that. Now, they're far from perfect, but they are at least open to thinking about the world differently from the sort of aggressive, progressive, promiscuous whoredom that the mainstream offers. The next point to make is a conversation I was having with a friend in my personal life recently about this, which is she doesn't have to be perfect. Not everything has to be traditional off the bat, if you like. What I mean is, do you really want traditional or quote right-wing women? They tend to be very opinionated and strong-willed when you get to know them. What I think we should really be looking for is more of an open woman with feminine qualities. She may even be a bit liberal, and that's okay. In fact, it's probably more natural for a woman to be liberal. Liberalism plays on a woman's natural capacities of compassion and all that sort of stuff. However, it's not so natural for a man, in my belief. Maybe that's one of my own biases. What I'm getting at is, the main thing is that this woman might be open-minded, open-hearted. And I think in this day and age where we're brainwashed so much by the liberal values, you need to give somebody time to fall into a different value system. And when a man is certain and has strong values with a soft touch, very important to remember that one, can't force your values on anybody. I've found in my own personal life women actually come around to that way of thinking and see its logic, especially in the family dynamic. Further, I know it's hard to build a traditional model in a modern relationship because of the two-income trap anyway. That's a real dark thing that the liberal system did to our culture and tradition, but it is the way it is. However, it's still the case that women will always look up to a man who knows his own values, can't be pushed around, but is also calm and loving. That tells us something very important, that the dynamics between men and women and how attraction works are deeper than liberal ideology. This is why you don't have to talk about politics or religion or beliefs or force anybody into believing your worldview. You simply show it in your actions and it naturally attracts the opposite sex. Final thing to say is to remember to have fun. One of the problems is when you realise you want an actual relationship and to root it in traditional values, it can be a bit strict, it can get a bit serious too early. Whenever you're dating somebody, it needs to be free and easy at first, and that doesn't mean embracing promiscuity, although I think you should keep your options open. What it means is knowing you have strong values and, as I say, holding them with a soft touch, not leading with them, but simply enjoying yourself. I think that this is really important as well. Having a compelling vision of your own, of what you want to build with your life and working towards that, not talking about it so much, but really hammering your way towards it. That is very strong masculine energy that I think plays very well with the opposite sex again. And as I say, we're in such a mess in modernity that you will really stand out as a man if you do generally have values and a mission. But anyway, these are some of my findings after going from someone who was totally clueless after being brainwashed by liberalism to figuring it all out over many years and many mistakes, and eventually getting married to a woman who I really love, who adheres to traditional values, largely led by me. But again, there's no forcing here. It's something which we naturally coalesce on and have built a family around. So I hope that helped somebody out there somewhere. Do let me know your thoughts down below. Do consider subscribing, and if you're interested in this sort of content, please do join the Substack to support me if you can. Free content there as well.